Good morning, folks. Thrash Pondo's here, and I'm bringing you yet another one of my weekly installments of the coolest sci fi and horror film and literature available today. And I've been doing something a little different lately. I've been scanning one of my favorite venues, YouTube, for original entertainment, and I found that a number of people have actually been posting their own post apocalyptic short films, a personal favorite of mine. And as I've been watching these entertainments, I've noticed, well, I don't want to say cliches, and I certainly don't want to say tropes, but what I will say is there are some certain running themes that I've seen in quite a few of the works. And today I'll be presenting those to you in no particular order. But before I get started, I have to say, please don't take this as me being critical. The reason formulas work is because they work, hence the formula. So it's not that they're being overused, it's that, well, let's just say that you're all in very good company for using them. And I'll start, of course, with number 10. Why is it always a single person, well, or two, sort of facing this post apocalyptic world on their own? Now, I do understand there's a couple of reasons for this. One, economy of characters. Less people you got on screen, the easier it is to get the film put together. Not to mention, it's an old classic, going back even before The Road Warrior. I mean, it's sort of that whole one person up against the wilderness, very Jack London-esque, only in a post-apocalyptic setting. So I can certainly see it, but it's a little overdone in my opinion. I mean, why not a small group of people? When there is a small group in a lot of these films, it's usually the one person going up against the small group. Why not a small group going up against the one person? Sounds more fun. But anyway, next. Number 9. Why are they so often wearing gas masks? Now, I understand it looks cool, and it's certainly been a common thread throughout the evolution of post apocalyptic works. We've talked about that in Wizards, the Thousand Year War, and Genesis of the Dialects, and a host of others. But the harsh reality is, if you're living in a world where years after an apocalypse you still gotta wear a gas mask because the actual air quality is suspect, you probably wouldn't have made it that far. So, moving forward to number 8. Next. Number 8 is, why are they always bundled up? Now, I do understand the nuclear winter is an oldie but a goodie, and is certainly something to be contended with in many variety of post-apocalyptic fiction. But how should I put this? They're not always in New England. Sometimes you're in parts of the country or even world where it would be warm. I saw a short the other day where the whole thing took place in the American Southwest, and they were still bundled up like it was in Minnesota, don't you know? You know, there's going to be times when it's warm, particularly if you listen to our weather people of today. Speaking of potential post apocalyptic events. Next, number 7. Why is there so much expositional monologue? I understand you want to present your world and give a backstory and give a framing reference and sense of context, but you know what? Your viewer can infer all of that. When you're a fan of the post-apocalyptic subgenre, you know that civilization has been wiped out, and you know that there has been some cataclysmic event, and you know this person is trying to stay alive and finding supplies. What else would they be doing? Not to mention the fact, how should I put this? You want to save that type of thing for when it's some type of game changer, when it's something the audience hasn't seen before, which hopefully your story does happen. I mean, take for example, A Boy and His Dog, one of the short stories was one of the biggest game changers. The boy can actually talk to his dog, and they minimalize that. Exposition is good, but don't go overboard. It just slows the whole story down. Next, number 6. Why do people always feel the need to ratchet up the tension with more action? Yes, action in these stories is great, but you don't want it at the cost of telling a good story. I saw one the other day which was basically 6.5 minutes of a person being chased through a wood. It's great, but I wasn't even sure why the person was being chased. Next, number 5. What do you do about an abscessed tooth? Let me put it to you more this way. They're always looking for medicine in a jug form or a vial, something to actually help a sick friend or loved one of some kind. Two things. One, that medicine will all have been expired by the stage of the ball game. But two, why is it always that quick fix elixir? You give them the medicine, they get better. There's going to be procedures where you're going to need a certain amount of medical expertise, and what do you do in those circumstances? They never seem to cover that, probably because most survivors don't have medical degrees. But it raises the question every time I see it. Next, number 4. Why do the gals always seem to have their eyebrows done? And it's not just the gals either. These people usually, and again, they're usually college students or something like that. They're usually very, very, very well groomed. And they just sort of smudge some dirt on their face and mess up their hair and say, look, I'm living in a post-apocalyptic world. It's not that simple. These people look as though they've just walked off a J. Crew catalog and try to look as though they've just been through hell and back. There's a little more to it than that. Now, I understand you don't want your person to have to shave their head to be in your post-apocalyptic movie, but try to at least make it look as though they've been having a rough time. Next, number 3. Where are all the people with PTSD? Think about it. Last couple of years have been pretty tough, huh? And I would no more call this a post-apocalyptic world than I would call a paintball gun game World War II. I mean, the distinctions are just night and day. That being said, I know a lot of people who have been completely traumatized by the last couple of years. So in a true extinction event situation, most, if not all the people, would be suffering from some form of PTSD. And yet we never see that. I think it's something that is noticeably absent in this subgenre. Next, number 2. You don't have to have some type of twist ending. I get it. You like to pull the rug out from under your viewer so they go, oh, at the ending. And don't get me wrong, those are cool. But it's come to the point where I'm starting to watch for what the twist ending will be before it ends. It's almost like my wife with the Twilight Zone, which she loosely refers to as irony theater. Sometimes things just sort of wrap up. Sometimes they don't so much end as plod along. But the whole, oh my gosh, endings, I think that's been overdone, at least at this stage of the ball game. Next, and number 1. This is just a running question that I've had for ages. Why don't they ride bikes? They're always walking through the wasteland. Every now and then you see one with a horse. Why the horse didn't end up in the pot is still beyond me. Even if the survivor wouldn't kill their favorite horse for food, I'm sure plenty of other people would. But they never, ever, ever ride bikes. Now, before you say, well, they're going cross-country, we have cross-country bikes. We have dirt bikes. There are bikes that would work. And if you don't think that's a thing, I refer to General Yashima's invasion of Singapore, which was done with, among other tactics, men on bicycle. So, yeah, cross-country biking is a thing, particularly in a world where that's all you got. And speaking of that's all I got, that's all I got. So, tell me, what overdone themes have you seen in post-apocalyptic works? I'm sure I've left out a few. Which ones have I mentioned that you really like and feel deserve even more usage? I'm good at debating on both ends of the equation. Anyway, folks, have a wonderful weekend. Be good, be safe, Be careful, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Peace.